Welcome to my channel Global Sky Update, the ultimate destination for jaw-dropping content that will surprise, inspire, and entertain you every step of the way. If you love discovering the unexpected, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and share with your friends to keep the excitement going. Your support helps us keep blowing minds and creating content you'll never forget. So buckle up and get ready. Global Sky Update, because this is just the beginning. This is gonna blow your mind. I bet you didn't know just how complicated the story behind Sabah really is. Borders on a map may look simple at first glance, just lines drawn across land and sea. But in reality, these lines are the result of complex histories, negotiations, and sometimes even bloodshed. They hide centuries of conflict, migration, and the blending of cultures. Every artifact, every ruin, and every tradition in Borneo tells a story of people who have called this land home for generations. In Borneo's northern corner lies Sabah, a region rich in resources and history, but also at the center of a long-standing dispute. Both Malaysia and the Philippines lay claim to Sabah, each with their own narratives and justifications. Is ownership determined by ancient treaties signed by sultans and colonial powers, by the arbitrary lines drawn by foreign rulers, or by the voices and choices of the people who live here today? The Sabah dispute is about more than just territory. It's a question of identity, belonging, and the very meaning of nationhood for millions of people. Over the centuries, sultans, adventurers, and colonial empires have all left their mark on Sabah, shaping its destiny and the lives of its people. For the Philippines, the claim to Sabah is seen as a matter of historical justice and national pride, rooted in old agreements and a sense of unfinished history. For Malaysia, Sabah's place in the nation is a settled question, affirmed by the will of its people and decades of self-determination. Our goal here isn't to take sides, but to explore and understand the powerful forces, the deep histories, and the real people at the heart of this ongoing dispute. So let's begin our journey into this fascinating geopolitical mystery and discover what truly lies beneath the windswept lands of Sabah. To truly understand Sabah's present-day identity and the ongoing debates about its sovereignty, we must look deep into its layered and complex past, where empires rose and fell and borders shifted with the tides of history. Centuries ago, the powerful Sultanate of Brunei held sway over vast territories in northern Borneo, including what we now call Sabah. But in the 1600s, a devastating civil war erupted within Brunei. Desperate to maintain his throne, the embattled sultan turned to the Sultan of Sulu for military assistance. In gratitude for this crucial support, Brunei's sultan ceded the territory of northern Borneo, what we now know as Sabah, to the Sultan of Sulu, forever altering the region's fate. For nearly 2 centuries, Sabah became part of the Sulu domain. People, goods, and culture moved freely across the Sulu Sea, weaving a rich tapestry of shared heritage and kinship. But the arrival of European colonial powers, British, Spanish, and Dutch, changed everything. These foreign empires redrew the region's map, carving out new boundaries and sowing seeds of future conflict. The Sultan of Sulu, once influential, now found his authority shrinking under mounting colonial pressure and shifting alliances. In the late 1800s, British interests, eager to tap into Sabah's natural wealth, approached the Sultan of Sulu. They sought formal agreements to legitimize their presence and access to resources. This pivotal meeting produced a treaty, a document whose wording and intent remained fiercely debated, and which lies at the very heart of today's territorial dispute. The central question endures: what exactly did that historic agreement mean, and who truly holds rightful claim to Sabah? In 1878, the Sultan of Sulu signed an agreement with British representatives. Was it a sale or a lease? Everything hinges on the translation of one word: pajak. The British and Malaysia say it means to cede, a permanent sale. The Philippines and the Sultan's heirs argue it means to lease, a temporary arrangement. Annual payments to the Sultan's heirs continue to this day. Malaysia calls it cession money. The Philippines calls it rent. This linguistic ambiguity is the legal core of the dispute. One word, two meanings, two national claims. The 1878 agreement, meant to clarify, instead left a legacy of confusion. It's a colonial-era puzzle that still shapes relations between neighbors. The Philippine claim rests on history, law, and shared culture. In 1962, the Sultan's heirs transferred their claim to the Philippine government. The Philippines argues the 1878 agreement was a lease, not a sale, and points to ongoing payments as proof. Deep cultural ties link the Sulu archipelago and Sabah, shared language, religion, and ancestry. The Philippines sees the colonial border as an artificial divide. They also question the legitimacy of Sabah's 1963 incorporation into Malaysia, arguing the process didn't fully reflect the people's will. For many Filipinos, reclaiming Sabah is about reuniting a divided people. Malaysia's case is built on self-determination. In 1963, Sabah's people joined Malaysia through a political process, which Malaysia sees as the ultimate act of sovereignty. The Cobbold Commission and a UN team found most Sabahans favored joining Malaysia. Since then, Sabah has been fully integrated. Its people are Malaysian citizens, its economy and government tied to the Federation. Malaysia views the annual payments as fulfilling a historical contract, not as rent. The 2013 armed incursion by Sulu claimants hardened Malaysia's stance. Sabah's status is non-negotiable. For Malaysia, questioning Sabah's place ignores decades of shared nationhood. The dispute to them is settled by the will of Sabah's people. To truly understand Sabah, you have to look beyond the headlines and the world of politics. Look at its people, their daily lives, and the stories that shape their communities. The real heart of Sabah lies not in government buildings or news reports, but in the faces and voices of its people. Sabah is home to over 3 million people, representing dozens of ethnic groups and cultures. This diversity creates a vibrant, unique cultural mosaic, where traditions are celebrated side by side and new identities are constantly being formed. From the Katazan Dusun to the Bajau, Marut, and Chinese communities, Sabah's multiculturalism is woven into everyday life. Once, Sabah's economy was driven mainly by timber and oil, industries that shaped its landscape and history. Today, however, Sabah is rapidly diversifying. Tourism, hospitality, and services are becoming increasingly important, bringing new opportunities and challenges. The state's natural beauty and rich culture attract visitors from around the world, fueling growth and change. For most Sabahans, the Philippine claim is a distant issue, rarely discussed in daily conversation. Instead, their lives are shaped by more immediate concerns: finding good jobs, getting a quality education, and supporting their families. Local issues, such as infrastructure, healthcare, and economic development, are what matter most to the people here. Many Sabahans have always known themselves as Malaysians. Their sense of belonging is rooted in shared experiences, national celebrations, and the hope for a better future. For them, being Malaysian is a source of pride and unity. However, Sabah faces real and ongoing challenges. Cross-border security threats and undocumented migration are persistent concerns, affecting both safety and social stability. These issues require constant vigilance and cooperation between communities and authorities. These practical issues shape local politics far more than historical claims or distant disputes. Political debates and campaigns often focus on how to address these everyday challenges, rather than on questions of sovereignty. The question of sovereignty is often overshadowed by the practical realities of daily life. People are more concerned with making a living, supporting their families, and preserving their unique cultures. For Sabahans, identity and the future are shaped by their own experiences, dreams, and aspirations, not by distant disputes or political claims. Their resilience, diversity, and hope for a better tomorrow define what it truly means to be Sabahan. What if Sabah became part of the Philippines? For the Philippines, it would be a historic victory and a chance to reunite families and cultures divided by colonial borders. Sabah's resources could boost the Philippine economy, and cross-border ties could flourish. For Sulu communities, the border's removal could mean new opportunities, but integration would be complex. Economic, legal, and cultural challenges would be immense. Not all Sabahans share the same heritage or aspirations. The promise of reunification is real, but so are the risks. Now consider the risks of Sabah joining the Philippines. Most Sabahans identify as Malaysian. Forcing a change could spark unrest and instability. Economic disruption would be severe. Sabah's systems are deeply tied to Malaysia. Many communities have distinct identities shaped by decades within Malaysia. Imposing a new national identity could create new injustices. The Sabah dispute is a collision of history and modern reality. The only sustainable solution is one that respects the will of Sabah's people. Their voices must be central to any decision about their future. Whether they remain with Malaysia or seek another path, the choice must be theirs. True resolution lies in dialogue, peace, and self-determination.